What's up, family? Y'all already know who it is. It's your boy, The Yank Man, and today, by popular demand, we're going to go over what y'all asked for, y'all, the configuration between TouchOSC and Ableton, how I have it set up, all right? Now, listen, this video can be really, really long, so I'm going to have to break this up into two different parts. Part one is going to be my setup in Ableton. Part two is going to be my setup in TouchOSC. So check it out, y'all. Listen, if you haven't already, I need you to subscribe to this channel because this type of content, it's going to bless your soul, all right? So y'all ready for it? Let's jump into it. All right, so as you can see here, this is my Ableton session. And what we're going to do, this probably look like a lot to y'all, but we're going to go from left to right, all right? And I'm going to try to explain everything to y'all. Remember, this is only the Ableton session, so some stuff I'm going to be controlling from my iPad. You're not going to be able to see it, but tune in for part two, all right? Matter of fact, we may make this a part three where I show everything together, all right? But here we are, Ableton. All right, so here on the first, in my first column, this is a group column. This is I call it the Yank Man, but if I open it up, I got my home screen where it says home, and the next column says record indicator. The next column says watch. All right, so I'm gonna show you what all this is doing. In this home screen here, I have one clip which is sending MIDI to the home screen on my iPad. So when I hit this right here, you're not gonna see the iPad, but you're gonna see, as you can see, it's sending notes. And what those notes are doing on my home page, it's allowing for, I have some lights that I want to light up on the home page. And as you can see, it's sending out, let me open up my routing, it's sending MIDI out of Ableton, MIDI to TouchOSC channel 16, and it's being routed to these certain MIDI notes. If I can fold it here, you'll see these 4 MIDI notes here. It's sending these MIDI notes because I have some parameters inside of TouchOSC where it's receiving these MIDI notes and it's allowing for those parameters inside of TouchOSC to blink. All right, so next what we have here is light recorder indicators. So I don't know if y'all remember from the video of my setup, y'all saw where it was, I had lights blinking from green to yellow. Green is a downbeat, yellow is the in-between. So if it was a 4/4 beat, it would, if I was, let's say, we at 128 right now, if I was to launch a 4/4, you'll see here, well, let me clear everything. I have capital C set for clear, and then I have capital N set for the stop on my computer. But if I was to launch this right here, 4/4, and you see here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 1 will light up green, and the 2, 3, 4 will light up yellow. And this is sending MIDI again from the computer to TouchOSC through channel 16, and TouchOSC is receiving the MIDI and it's allowing those parameters to blink. All right. Next, what we got here is the same thing with the watch. All right. So I got my watch channel. Let me hit the clear. All right. So with my watch channel, it's the same exact thing. I'm sending MIDI from Ableton. As you can see, I don't have MIDI from, I don't have no MIDI coming through these channels. MIDI is only going out of these channels to allow, it's sending MIDI on this channel to the watch, which is it allows it to vibrate or to pulse on my arm to whatever tempo the MIDI is being sent at. So right now, if I was to hit it again, it's at 127, it'll be doing the same thing. So a lot of times I have the record indicator and the watch both sending the same signal at the same time. I may have it like, if I was to select both of these, you see something like this. And as you can see, it's sending MIDI from both of these channels to the TouchOSC for the record indicators and to the Soundbird, which is the watch, the pulse watch, and it's sending at the same signal. So I'm able to see the tempo on my iPad, and I'm also able to feel it and see the visual on my watch as well. Now, moving along, I like this part right here. This next part right here are my master MIDI columns, all right? So let me show you what I mean by this. As you can see, this says Nord. That's because at the church, I normally use the Nord. At the church, I actually need to change it because the Nord went out, and I'm using the CP right now. But so here's where the magic happens, all right? So here are my master MIDI controls that are coming from the Nord at the keyboard. Here's where it's coming from here. I have it set up here. This is a regular MIDI channel that I have set up, and I called it keys 1. And in here, I have it's a group. This is a group. You press Command G to group. I have a group instrument rack, And these instrument racks don't have anything. It's no sounds or anything. This is how I'm routing certain signals to certain sounds. All right. So as you can see here, I have piano, I have synth, I have pads, and then I have doobie on here, which is one of the sounds that I use, doobie sounds I use. All right. If I go here to chain, this is where the magic is happening. So on chain selector 0 is set. I have my 0 set to off. So inside of this, where you see off here is in white. If I double click it inside of this clip, if I go over to, where is it? If I open it up here in the envelopes, and I have my MIDI keys 1, the instrument rack, it's named MIDI keys 1. If you go back here, it says MIDI keys 1. I double click back on this clip. I have that, and I have the chain selector selected. Chain selector 0 is set to off. So when this is active, it kills all, it's not sending MIDI anywhere. All right, that's set to off. Now, if I go back here, for my piano, it's set to chain selector 1. So when I do the chain selector 1, you'll see it here when I click on it, just piano. As you can see there, the animation popped up, the dot is right there on chain selector 1. And then same thing, chain selector 2 is for piano and synth. So as you can see, this bar, it stretches out however far you want it stretched out. But this bar I have is the piano stretched over for piano and for synth. Then if I do here for all in, chain selector 3, what that's going to do is it's going to select, as you see, piano, synth, and worship. So my pads, my synth, and the piano are going to be playing when I launch the all in. And if I just want piano and pads, what I do is launch the worship. And now we have chain selector 4, which is set to piano and worship. And then I also have a doobie joint, which is set to piano and the doobie sound I use. All right. This is just an instrument rack where I'm sending MIDI to certain sounds through this rack. All right. Now, moving on, this next column is mod wheel. So on the Nord that I was using, it didn't have its own modulation wheel on the actual. I think I was using the Nord Piano 2. It didn't have its own modulation wheel. So I had to kind of manipulate the modulation signal from my top keyboard, which is a Novation. So as you can see here, MIDI from the Novation on channel 2, I have just channel 2, which is the modulation wheel on the Novation is being sent from channel 2. I have that going into MIDI 2, it says keys 1, which is here, keys 1. So when I do the modulation on the Novation, it's affecting whatever's going into keys 1 or whatever sound is being played from keys 1. All right. And then over here, I have a latch column, which is coming from the Novation as well. Because the reason why I have to have this is because on this channel right here, I have the MIDI from coming from the CP. There's no MIDI controls on the CP. I have certain controls on the Novation, like latching and activating sounds that's on the Novation. If I don't send that signal into the keys 1, which is going to the CP, then all of my different MIDI parameters that I have, it won't affect those sounds because the signal is not being routed into the keys 1. So I have to, every different MIDI setting and parameter I have to make sure that that signal is going into that MIDI rack that's sending the signals to the certain sounds. And it's all going to make sense in a minute. All right, so I got a latch that's coming from the Novation that's going into keys 1. I also got a latch that's coming from TouchOS, or it's another latch on the Novation on a different MIDI channel. So the first MIDI channel is channel 9. Second MIDI channel is channel 10. Certain MIDI stuff going on that's going into keys 1. And then I have TouchOS, which is only coming from, that's going to keys 1. TouchOS is channel 9. And all of this is going into the keys 1. I also have patch changes because certain, like you saw on my setup, I can have stack 1 through 4 that affect certain sounds that I'm using in the worship joints that I use. So that's coming from here. Is no MIDI from. It's just going straight into the keys 1. And then here at home keys, I can easily change this MIDI from to the keyboard that I'm using at home, but I just always just add so I don't have to change this back and forth when I get to church and when I'm at home. I just added an extra channel in here that says home keys, and I have my Witty Master Bluetooth, and it's coming from the Witty Master and then MIDI going to keys 1. All right, so I know that sounds like a lot, but let me show you what I mean. So with just piano, right now, if I play, you're gonna hear all the stuff. If I turn it off, you don't hear anything. If I hit just piano, now you hear just piano. If I hit synth, you're gonna hear synth and piano. All right, if I hit all in, you're gonna hear my pad, synth, and piano. Add some strings in there. All right, if I just do worship, you're only gonna hear piano and worship. Pass. And then if I hit doobie, you'll hear the piano and the doobie sound that I use. And the reason why I sound that fast is because, of course, it's affected by whatever tempo I have in the session. All right, so let me show you what I'm doing here. So as you can see here, on this keys 1, it says piano, synth, worship, and doobie. Let me show you where this signal is being sent to. So let's close this out. All right, and let's move over here to where it says keys. See where it says keys? These are my keyboard sounds that I have, my keyboard group, but we ain't gonna deal with that right now. We're just gonna deal with this section right here, MIDI from. See where it says MIDI from? I clicked where it says, here it says keys 1, right? Now, if I click here, you see all of these different places that the MIDI can come from. Why don't you just have the MIDI going straight from the keyboard straight to the sound? The reason why I have it coming from keys 1 instead of it coming straight from right now, the MIDI master or the CP signal, is because everywhere I go, I'm not gonna have the same type of keyboard. So if I bring this keyboard out of town, like I have to be out of town this weekend, I have to, right now, this keys 1 is being sent to keys, and it's being sent to a lot of the pad channels. You see here, keys 1, keys 1, keys 1. So if I had everything set to coming from directly from the keyboard, then I'm gonna have to go into all of these different channels and change every single one of these channels to receive MIDI from this keyboard. But by me already having the sounds selected to go from keys 1, all of the pads and all of the keys from keys 1, only thing I have to change if I get in a situation where I don't have a certain type of keyboard, only thing I need to change is the signal here, where it says keys 1, change where the MIDI is coming from, and I have a new board, say I'm using the Nord Stage 4 now, and I'm not using the CP. All I have to do is click here, change it to whatever board I'm using, and then now, without doing anything else, when I hit these certain triggers or certain chain selectors to select certain sounds, automatically they don't start working. I don't have to do too much rerouting. All right. So I have, same way it's set up here for the Nord, it's set up like that for the Novation, which is my top keyboard. I don't have as many things in this group. I have the same thing, MIDI instrument rack with sending signals to certain sounds. 0 set to off. 1 is set to pulses version 1. Then I have 2 is set to, matter of fact, we could just click them here. 0 is off. 1 is pulses 1. 2 is going to be Plux version 1. 3 is Plux version 2. 4 is Big Sense. 5 is Keybase. All right, and you can see it's changing there, and it's doing the exact same thing. MIDI is coming from the Novation, and it's going to those whatever sounds which are in the green. That's how I know the sounds. I colored it green so that I know these signals are going to these signals here in the green. All right, and I got the same thing where I can have stack 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's coming from, now on here I have, because it's set to the same type of MIDI notes that's coming from TouchOSC. It's the same ones that's being sent from this channel, and all it is a MIDI note. So stack 1 is C-2. Stack 2, you can have this be whatever you want it to be, but this is the way I have it set up. All right, and it's coming from here. The MIDI from is coming from these MIDI clips, and it's coming from TouchOSC on channel 2, and it's going into keys 2. All right. And then I have at-home keys. Of course, I'm using the Witty Masters because I want to demonstrate some of these sounds from one board. So that's why that's set up like that. All right. Let's move on. Keytar, same way. All right. I got a MIDI instrument rack that's sending signals to certain sounds through the chain selector. So my chain selector 0 is set to off. 1 is set to the vocoder. 2 is set to leads 1. 3 is set to leads 2. And then 4 is set to leads 3. All right. And it's the same thing. I have here the right here, the MIDI is coming from, it says Vortex Wireless. That's my keytar. The Vortex Wireless, that's if you're using the USB directly from the keyboard straight into the computer. Or I have this next one set up. It says Alexis Keytar, and the MIDI is coming from the Witty Master, which is my Bluetooth MIDI signal I plug into the keyboard. So I can have it either way, whether I plug up straight to the USB or I use a Bluetooth MIDI. I have both of those channels set up. I also have a sustain. This is pretty cool right here. The sustain, as you see, it says MIDI from, it's coming from keys 1. And the reason why is because on stage, I only have one sustain pedal that I'm working with. So sometimes when I'm using a vocoder, I want to sustain some of the chords I'm using when I'm doing my vocoder, when I'm vocoding. I want to use the sustain pedal. So I have the sustain pedal coming from keys 1, but you may say, how are you not getting the MIDI notes? I have it coming from keys 1 and it's going into the keytar, which is here, Alicia's keytar channel, but I have it off. The way that I only receive just the sustain pedal and not the notes is by using this velocity plugin. I don't know how I figured this out, y'all. It was the Lord that figured it out for me. But if I was to open this up here, let's go to MIDI effects. Let's go to velocity. I'm gonna drop another one on the same channel just so you can see the difference. All right, screenshot this. I don't know how I figured this out. It don't make sense to me, but this is the settings that I use to where, matter of fact, I can show you. So as you can see, I'm gonna turn the signal off for all of these. All right, so as you can see here on the sustain channel, you see a signal coming from keys 1, right? But you see the same signal here is coming from keys 1, but you see it it's passing through. But on the sustain pedal, it's not passing through. If I was to deactivate these velocity plugins, now you can see the signals coming through. But some kind of way, because of this velocity thing, I have it set up to where even if I play the keyboard, it doesn't play. But if I press on the sustain pedal, you see it's coming through there, like that yellowish light. I don't know how I figured it out, but it was nobody but God. But I needed that so that way I don't have like multiple sustain pedals on stage and I'm trying to figure out which one to use for the vocoder, which one for the keys, which one for that. I can kind of navigate just having one, and I can turn it. If I have it bypass, it won't affect the vocoder. Or if I have it active, it'll affect the vocoder. And I have that all set up as being MIDI controlled. All right, let me delete this other velocity. But yeah, I don't know how that's working. If you want to screenshot that, just in case you want to do the same thing, I don't know how. Just screenshot this and use the same exact settings, all right? And then, of course, I have the patch changes, which I can do my patch changes is the stack 1, stack 2, stack 3, 4. For my vocoder, for all of my leads, I have different stacks that I use, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in my vocoder, I have a stack 1 and stack 2 for different type of sound that I'm using with, well, not different type of sound. One is a poly something sound and one is a mono something sound. So it's only play one note at a time. But that's the way that is set up there. All right. And then I already showed you here for my keyboard. Let me clear. For my keyboard, my MIDI is coming from keys 1. And I have my monitor set to in instead of set to auto, so that way I don't have to arm the track. I have it set to in, and the audio is going to the master. Now, before we move on, I want to show you this too. As far as when it comes down to where my audio is going. If I open up here my sends or my return channels, what I have here, I have A, B, C, and D. So I have for deeper, we have different outputs for certain sounds. So my 1 and 2 is just my pianos. My 3 and 4 is my pads and synths and that nature. My 5 and 6 is all of my aux sounds. Then on here is 17 and 18, which is the different output, is for my vocoder. But so at church, I'm using these outputs. When I'm at home, I don't want to have to, if I want to hear these certain sounds, I don't want to have to go through and select all of these sounds and change the output routing to 1 and 2 so I can hear everything. The way I have mine set up is I have a shortcut set up. So if I hit the letter S, watch what happens. So right now you see the master is all the way up, and you see that these return channels are muted. If I hit capital S here, hit capital S, as you can see, it just did the reverse. And you can see it better if I hit tab and go into arrangement view. Now you see that all of my output routings from my return channels or send channels, they're active now, and my volume, hold on, I'm sorry. If I hit S, there it is. So this way, I hit S, my master is set to 1 and 2, and it's all the way up to 0. I can hear everything that I'm playing. Or let's activate the pad so you can really tell. Right? Now, when I hit S, it's gonna turn off the master, and now it's gonna activate all of the sends. So now my piano is 1 and 2, you can hear that. But you can't hear the pads or nothing else that's going through because it's on different routers. So I have that set up so that when I'm at home practicing, I could just hit capital S and I can hear everything coming through the master. And then when I go to a gig, whatever like that, and I need my certain routings, I hit capital S again, and now it deactivates the master, and it's only going to sends. So I have all the sounds going to sends, and I have it going to masters, but I'm able to shortcut which one I'm using at a time by using capital S. All right. And all I did was I set, if you go into the MIDI settings, Command K, go into the MIDI settings, you can see here I have S on the mute channels for my sends. I have it on A, B, C, and D, and I also have it on the master. But what I did to manipulate it to toggle between the two, because if you were to do this and then your master is set to 0 and everything is turned on, when you hit S, it's gonna turn everything off. And hit S again, it's gonna turn everything on. So how to manipulate it to go back and forth with you already have your command set up. All you have to do is, with everything turned on, make sure your master is set to 0. Now when you hit S, it's gonna toggle between the two. All right. So like I said, as you can see here, all of my sounds, let me close this down. All of my sounds are going to the masters. All right. All of them going to the masters. Then I open up my sends. You can see my sends are going to their prospective places, or going to the right place it's supposed to be going to. So here are my pianos, my keys, piano sounds, just pianos. We're going to activate just the pianos. All right, so let's go over here to the keys. Now, I can't show you these sounds, but all I want to show you here is how I got some things configured. So I have an instrument rack. Of course, this is an instrument rack, and I have I'm using Atmosphere. I use Atmosphere for pretty much everything. Using Atmosphere, I also have the looper right after the sound, and then I have my effects chain, which is a drive, verb, and a delay signal. All right. So with that, as you can see here, the green dot is just telling you that it's mapped. These controls are mapped to something, another micro. So I have these controls right here mapped to these micros, which I have my piano, rose, and dark is coming from here, level 1 level, 2 level, 3 level. And then my drive, verb, and delay is being mapped to these 3 mappings. So of course, the drive signal, I can add in some verb, which is just a shimmer. So I'm using that shimmer. All right. And then, of course, y'all know I can add in the delays. And the delays I'm using is all from within. Those are stock delays that I'm using out of Ableton. All right, and the way I'm able to activate certain sounds and deactivate certain sounds, right now, I'm gonna turn this delay down. Right now it says live part 1, live part 2, live part 3. This is how you're able to activate and deactivate sounds inside of Atmosphere. Like I said, we're not gonna go in. This video is not detailed about the sounds. We'll do another video about sounds. All right, it's just about the setup. So if I hit Command M, you'll see here. I'm gonna hit Command M, and I'm gonna hit Option Command B to open up where you can see all of my parameters. These are all of the MIDI settings that I have set up in here. So I make it look easy with the iPad, but all this MIDI stuff that you see over here, I had to manually set all of this stuff up inside of TouchOSC. All right, so TouchOSC, that's gonna be a really tough video, me showing y'all how I have all this stuff set up. But I had to manually set up all of these MIDI settings, and I had to remember which MIDI I was using, which ones I wasn't using, which MIDI channels, all of that stuff. All right, so let's hit Command M, and then Option Command B, close that down. And yeah, so imagine I didn't have a MIDI controller, or I didn't have TouchOSC, and I had to control all of this stuff straight from the computer. It's a headache, right? So, and as you can see here, I'm gonna hit Command M again. I have MIDI settings on my looper. I have MIDI settings on my some of my Atmosphere stuff. I have MIDI settings to control volumes for my keys, and it's the same way across the board for a lot of the sounds. All of my pad sounds, I have them in a group. But I have my praise patch. I have MIDI for that, MIDI assignments for the volume, for the praise. So if I'm gonna deactivate the piano and just do synth. And y'all can't see me doing this right now, but if you see stuff happening and I'm not touching the computer, it's because I have my iPad here for easy access. But here on my synth right here, I have a volume control here, which is set to volume. And all I did was I MIDI mapped. Here it says map. I mapped this parameter, which is the overall volume for the synth sound, to this first macro. You can have as many macros as you want to by hitting the plus sign, but I don't need but one. So I had mapped it to this, and then I mapped this by hitting Command M. I mapped that to a certain parameter, MIDI parameter on TouchOSC, so I can control the overall volume of the synth. All right. Same thing for the Doobie sounds that I'm using. I think here with the Doobie, let me see. Okay, yeah. With the Doobie sound, I don't have it mapped here with the micros. I'm just controlling the Doobie sounds from here. I have it MIDI mapped straight to the fader on that channel, so I can control that sound. All right, so that's that. And then also here on the next page, I have my worship pads. It's set up the same. I have volume controls that's set up to my, if I open this up here and do the configuration, I have the volumes are set up to the macros, which I hit the mapping. I map some of these parameters to these parameters here. And then I also MIDI mapped some of these parameters as far as turning on certain sounds that I want and certain latching things. I MIDI map those with Command M to the iPad. All right. So a lot of this stuff here on the MIDI mapping is going to make sense once we get into the TouchOSC. I just wanted to show y'all how things are set up on my computer. Now here, I want to show y'all this too. This right here this is pretty dope how I got this set up. So most of my, let's go to pads. Let's go back here. So as you can see here, I have signal coming from here, worship pads, and I have signal coming from here. This channel right here is the worship expression, right? So I don't have my expression pedal right now, but I wanted to separate my strings for expression from my pad sounds with expression. And the way I was able to do that inside of, we're gonna do another video on that one when we start going into the sounds, but I was able to separate the signal from the, well, you can kind of see it here. So on the worship expression, if you see here, I got it coming from the worship pads, but underneath there are different outputs inside of Atmosphere that you can send sounds through. And I have sent my strings separately from my pads, so that way when I'm using the expression, I'm not affecting the pads. I'm only affecting the strings. And it's coming out of here 3 and 4. So all of my pads are coming through 1 and 2. Well, you can see it. So, yeah, pads are coming through. Well, it don't say 1 and 2, it says post mixer, but that's channels 1 and 2. For the pads, I'm gonna turn the strings off. Just the pads. Right? That's 1 and 2. And then the strings is coming through 3 and 4. So I can separate the signal where that path is coming from. And then what I have here, I have a MIDI setting. We all know expression is MIDI CC11. I have that MIDI CC11 going here, only affecting just the strings. Now I'm gonna share a secret with y'all real quick. All right, don't tell nobody I told y'all this. All right, now what I do with my expression, I learned this tip from David Parks. What I do is on my expression, I don't have it set to, as you look here, it's showing my expression. It's not set to go minimum to infinity 0. My minimum is set to go to -5, and my max is set to go back to 0. And the reason why I have it set up that way is when I'm doing the strings, I've learned this from David. I don't want the strings when I'm doing my expression to go all the way down when I put my foot down. I just want it to come down just a little bit, and it helps with the articulation of the strings. You know, when you playing strings, you don't crescendo all the way down and then crescendo all the way back up. You know, it's like subtle movements. You may play up and then come down a little bit, then go up and come down a little bit. I know that sounds weird, but anyways, that's how I have that set up with my expression. I don't think none of my expressions is going straight from 100 to 0. It's like 100 to like 85 or 100 to 75. It's like that to add that realistic expression to the sound. All right, but that's how I have that set up there. I have my sauce pads. If y'all don't know about the sauce pads, remember what I said about that. And then I have my sauce strings as well. I can separate on my iPad. I can go to my sauce pads. All right, so matter of fact, let me show you what I mean by this. Here is my sauce pads here, right? We'll close this up so you can kind of see it. And then remember on my keys, this is coming from my main keys, keys 1. Remember I had the stack 1, stack 2, stack 3, and 4. These signals are being ran to keys 1. So when I do stack 1, watch the sound change. As you can hear, the sound kind of changed. My stack 2 adding more sounds. Now you're starting to hear it open up. Stack 3, right? And all this is MIDI map. So I have these MIDI map to my iPad. For when you saw my iPad says stack 1, stack 2, stack 3, and 4. For my sauce pads, I have that MIDI map to these clips inside of Ableton. So when I press stack 1 on Touch or C, it's just launching stack 1 here, which as you can see, you saw that when I click on this, it's sending a MIDI note, which I showed y'all what the MIDI note was C. As you can see here, the MIDI note is C -2. I'm just sending a MIDI note to this instrument rack, which is affecting the different stacks that I'm using. All right. And I'm also here with my strings. I'm able to activate my strings so you can hear that. Now, y'all may be asking, like, why do I got 2 different sets of strings? I have these strings here. These are like my sauce strings. These are the strings that I got from Leonard Ray Jarman. These are more for like legato type playing, right? My other strings that I use, which are these right here, these are for more attack type stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can hear it. Right? It's for that type of stuff. With these other strings here, the sauce strings, you can't really do that with these. You can, but it doesn't have the same type of effect. All right? So that's my pads. And then here I want to show y'all this, and I think, yeah, we're going to keep it moving, all right? So with this here, I have pulses. With all of my aux sounds, what I have here, if I double click on the group, I have a looper, and I also have effects chain on all of my aux stuff. So let's deactivate. Let's turn off the signal going to the main keys 1. Let's turn on signal going to here. let's do pulses. And we're gonna come over here to pulses, turn it up. And of course, like I showed y'all, I can do stacks, different stacks with my pulses, right? So I got stack 1, stack 2. Right, stack 2. And like I showed y'all, the MIDI from is coming from TouchOSC channel 2. It's because on TouchOSC, y'all can see the same signal. I'm changing the same thing. All right, so in the pulses here, I have I have the same effect rack on all of my aux sound. I have the dry signal, then I have the delay, then I have the verb. I have that for every aux sound that I'm using, all right? And I have a looper on every aux sound I'm using as well. All of the aux sound they use the same looper. But on my looper, the settings that I have for my looper, I have it set to quantization 1 bar, which means it starts recording on the next bar. The recorder will start. So right now, as you can see, it's moving and saying one at the top playhead is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. If I start the recording on the 3, it won't start into the next downbeat. So it is 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now it starts. All right, and I have it set up to where after 8 bars, it automatically loops. All right, let me clear that real quick. And right here it says record 8 bars, then I have it set to play. So after 8 bars, then it'll automatically start looping. I have it not set to song control, no song control, but I have it set to follow the tempo of the follow song tempo. And that's pretty much it all I'm using. Then I have this set to the input set to always, from input to output. It's set to always. If you set it to never, you won't hear it. If the looper is in front of your sounds, you won't hear it. But I have it set to always, and that's on all of my sounds. Y'all already heard my synth sound, my aux sounds already, so we ain't gonna go through that. But the vocoder, let's see here on the vocoder channel, I have a looper. I have the sound that I'm using for the vocoder. So let's go over here and deactivate signal coming from the Novation, and let's activate signal for the vocoder. Right now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna mute the vocoder because I'm using the same mic to talk and to record. I'm gonna mute this real quick, and I'm gonna activate the vocoder here. Yeah, I'm gonna activate vocoder here. But right now, ain't nothing set because I have the routing still set for when I'm at church. But I have the vocoder sound. This is the vocoder sound, and then I have 19, which lets me know the output to set it to output 19 for the sound. And then here I have the vocoder mic, which is 17. The input for the mic is 17. Right now I'm not using those settings. I'm using channel 3 for the out for the vocoder sound. Then I'm using channel 1 for the input. Obviously, as you see here, I'm talking into it. I just don't want y'all to hear what I'm saying because it's gonna create a loop. But yeah, this is my vocoder joint. I have a looper on there, and then I'm about to give y'all some secrets, man. Y'all, those of y'all that's trying to do the vocoder thing, I'm using these plugins on my vocoder. So I have a slapback plugin, which is it's like a delay slapback, and I got this technique from Leonard. But I'm using the slap. He don't use these things. I think he used UAD plugins. I don't have UAD, so I had to use what I have. I have a slapback, which is like a delay. Just create slapback. I also have a shimmer, but I'm not using this shimmer for the shimmer. I'm using it because it gives it like this analog. You have to hear it. I'll demonstrate it, but it's giving like an analog type of sound. Then I'm using the super verb for some super massive to add some verb to the sound. I'm also using the CLA vocal to add some compression, some level of compression, width, and delay to the sound. A little bit of reverb through that too as well. And then I have the Kramer on a Kramer tape, which is the Kramer. Is it Kramer? Yeah, the Kramer tape at the end just kind of lock everything in. All right, so I'm gonna demonstrate what this sound like in totality, and then I'm gonna show y'all what it sound like as I add on the different plugins. I also have the CLA compression, but I don't use it right now. I don't use it right now. I only have it there for if I need it. It's a compression to the signal from my mic signal going before it hits any of the plugins. I compress the mic signal, but I don't really need it right now, so I have it deactivated. But let me show y'all what this would sound like. All right, so I made a mistake. I had the sound coming through output 3. It's not supposed to be output 3. It's actually output 5. All right, now let's try it and see what it sounded like.
Check 1 2 1 2. You are holy, oh so holy. You are holy, Lord of all. You are holy. You are holy.
All right, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take it plugin by plugin, and just so y'all can hear what's happening every time I add a plugin on there. All right.
This is the dry signal. This is the dry signal. This is the dry signal. Now we're going to add the slap back. This is the slap back. This is the slap back. Now we're going to add the shimmer. This is with the shimmer. See how the sound changed? This is the shimmer. This is the shimmer. This is the shimmer. I'm not using it for the shimmer. It's for this effect that I'm getting here. So I'm going to bypass it, activate it. Hear the difference? Here, it's kind of centered. Then here, it kind of gave it like a width, a stereo width to it. And then we're going to add supermassive, for some reverb. Then we're going to add CLA vocal, yeah. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. And then I top it off with the Kramer.
Yeah, so that's how that's working there with the vocoder. I know that's a lot right there, but that's how I'm getting my vocoder to work. And then the last thing is my freeze channel. So y'all already saw on the other video how I'm able to freeze certain things. What I have here, I have a freeze channel, and all of this right here is set up by Leonard Ray Jarman. He actually sells this. So if you want to get the freeze channel, make sure you visit his website. The freeze channel, it has a filter on it, which I demonstrated this on the iPad, but I'm showing y'all. The dry signal, it has a shimmer, and it also has the speed. And then all of these different plugins that he's using inside of here to make the freeze what it is. And then inside of this group, I have the different channels. So I have my piano, the pads, and I have my sauce pads, and I have the vocoder. And all of these channels, right now you see the vocoder, you see my mic signal. All of these are going through the freeze channel. So I'm able to freeze any of these signals that's going to this freeze channel. And I have it set to, as you can see, audio 2 is going to the freeze. So right now, my voice is going to the freeze channel. If I wanted to, I could freeze my voice. But y'all kind of get the gist of what's going on here. I think I showed y'all my tap tempo joints where I can tap tempo and make sure my outputs are set up right for my Q out. I have it on my computer set to Command K. I have it set to capital T to tap out a certain tempo. And then I have Command K again. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 is for 4/4, 2 is for 6/8, 3 is for 6/4, 4 is for 3/4. So I can tap some out. 1, 2, 3, 4, hit 1. Oh, my metronome is off. So all I have to do is just come over here. What is that set to? It's set to L. So now y'all can hear that. I can tap out again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's how I'm able to do my on the fly stuff from my computer. Corey's the bass player at the church. His is set up totally different, y'all. So but yeah, this is how I'm able to do it. And I'm not using foundations like I have it set up on Corey's computer. He's using foundations for his click. I'm just using a regular Ableton click. I just have it set up to where when I launch the scene, it's gonna start. As long as I have the click on, it's gonna. And as you can see here, I have the time signature for whatever I'm tapping out, and I launch that scene. It's gonna start playing at whatever tempo I tapped out at the time signature that I launched. All right, and I can control that volume down here with this. So the last few things I have here, I have on my master scene, I have set up I have a off on my master scene. If I tap, I have it set to capital O, but if I tap this, what it does is you'll see here, I'm gonna open up this channel. It's gonna, if I tap the O, I gotta turn off my metronome. But what it's doing here is sending MIDI to my own, when I tap off, it's sending MIDI to my home screen to have the lights, blinking on my home screen. But also what it did was it launched the off for each of these keyboards. So if I don't want any signal coming from none of the keyboards, like now I'm pressing something, you don't hear anything, I have a master setting set for off, which sends MIDI to my home screen on my iPad and also deactivates all of my sounds where I can't hear anything. All right, I have that. And then I also have, I showed y'all the flow stuff. And then underneath here, I have my deeper set list. I have, y'all saw song 1, song 2, song 3, and song 4. That's all MIDI mapped to the iPad, and it's already set up for whatever sounds I want to use, right? So say, for instance, song 1 is 132, and it's 4/4, right? Then song 2 is going to be 118, and that one's going to be 4/4, right? Song 3 is going to be 75, but that one's 6/8, right? And then song 4 is 68, and it's 4/4. All right, so what I can do here, I already have my time signatures and my tempo set. I could do now, I want to set up my record indicator and my watch, right? So it can receive the metronome. I can see it, visually see it, and I can feel it, right? So remember on the first song, it was 4/4. So I just go down here. My first song is red, 4/4. Second song was 4/4, and it's yellow. My third song was 6/8. Go here, copy it. Go here, paste, and that's green. My fourth song was 4/4. I can copy that from here. I'm sorry. Copy that from here, copy, paste, and that's blue. Now I have my record indicators for my iPad, and I also have my watch set up, ready to go for song 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now what I can also do is go in for my mains keyboards. What sounds do I want to use for song 1? Let's see. For mains, I want to have, let's say song 1, I want to start off with just piano. So I can copy this to song 1, right? I can always access this stuff freely throughout the song, but say I want to, as soon as song 1 start, I want to start with a certain set of sounds. I want just piano for the song 1, and then for song 2, we'll do synth, which is going to be piano and synth. That's yellow. And then song 3, we're going to do, let's say song 3, 6/8, we want to have all in. We want to have the synths, the piano, and the pads. So let's do all in. Let's go here, and let's make that, it's green. And on song 4, of course, we're going to have that set to worship. It's already set there, but I'll copy it anyways and make it blue, right? So on my worship and the all in, those include the pads. Well, with the pads, I have the sauce pads, which I can affect the stack 1, 2, 3, and 4. So wherever I see all in and worship, I want to add right here, it says worship in the brown. The brown is the opener. That's it. We start service with openers. If we already have an idea, I have the time signature and the tempo set and the sounds I want to use. But we're going to deal with song 1, song 2, 3, and 4. So song 3 and 4 is the all in, and the worship. As you can see here, for song 3, I want stack 2 with the pads. Maybe on song 4, I want stack 4 with the pads. I'm gonna make that blue. All right. It works the same way with the Novation and with the guitar. The only reason why I'm not gonna do it right now is because all of these sounds are being triggered by this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do it anyways. It may sound weird, but I just want to show y'all. So say on song 1, I want to use Plux 1, right? And I want to use stack, let's say stack 1 for song 1. Remember, this is red. I'm color coding everything. These are my colors. Y'all don't have to use these colors. Song 2, let's use the same thing for song 2, right? I just duplicated it. I selected it and hit Command D, and I'm about to change the color. And then song 3, let's say I want to use, which ones? I want to use Pulses version 1, but stack 2 though. I get that stack 2, right? And then song 4, I want Pulses 1, stack 4. All right, we're gonna color that blue. Same thing with the guitar. Say on song 1, I want to have leads. Let's do leads 2. I don't have a stack for those, but let's just go do. Matter of fact, I don't normally set my leads because I have that where I control it on the guitar. But I can if I wanted to. I'm not gonna do it here. But so let's try this and see if it worked. And also, I don't think I showed y'all this on my risers. I have my stacks directly under my risers, so I can, I don't want to do this because I just don't want to do this. All right. But anyways, let me show y'all this. Go to the routing for my risers. That's coming directly. It's not going to a keys 1, 2, or the guitar. This is coming directly from from TouchOS channel 16. And what's happening here, I don't know if y'all remember on the other video, I had my risers page. There was a keyboard that I created on that page. So there are actually MIDI notes coming from there acting as if it's a keyboard, and I have that signal going directly to only affect the risers. So that's why that's separate and have its own stacks on this joint. I can have it already set up for certain stacks per song, but I normally don't. But so let's try this, right? So I got song 1. My song 1 is gonna be just piano. Let's see if it's gonna be correct. And it's supposed to be Pulses version 1, stack 1. So let me make sure I have these sounds activated first. So my piano is activated. Get some worship stuff in there. Let's get some sauce pad stuff in there, right? All this stuff make sure all this stuff is activated. All right, now if I just hit song 1, I should have just piano and which ones was this? Just piano, Pulses verse. I got the pulses, but they're not turned up. I got to turn them up. Right? Now, the reason why all of this stuff is coming from when I'm tapping this keyboard is activating all this stuff is because I have this keyboard affecting all of those sounds. But as you can see, it worked. Now on song 2, matter of fact, let's turn the metronome on so y'all can hear these changes. Song 2, change the tempo, right? Time signature is still the same, but I have synth piano, which is synth and piano, and I also have same thing on my Aux Sounds. I have Pulses version 1, stack 1, as y'all can hear. All right, so my song 1. Song 2, right? My song 3 is supposed to be all in. This is worship, synth, and it's going to be Pulses stack 2. If I was to turn my Nord, where the signal is coming from the mains off, you can see my Aux sound change. And then on song 4, is my worship, and then I have, if I deactivate pianos, just Aux, that's Pulses, stack 4. So I did all of that just to show you this is how I'm able to flow in an actual service, right? I already have my song 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm not guessing what sounds per song. I'm switching sounds. I already have master scenes set up, and I can have this set up for any type of song. If we do more than 4 songs, I only have 4 MIDI settings inside of TouchOS C. That's why I only have song 1 through 4. But I can set up as many scenes in my master session as I want to for different sections of the song. Say I want to do the song and the sections of the song, change the sounds from the master scene. I can do that too. My flow that I have now, I just do song 1 through song 4. So anyways, this has been a long video, but I hope that y'all learned a lot in this video. And remember, this is only Ableton. I have to still show y'all the TouchOS C, which that one I think is going to be really fun. It's going to help you kind of start getting things going with controlling TouchOS C with your Ableton sessions. All right, so make sure y'all be on the lookout for that video. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel. All right, and y'all already know you ain't got to go home, my brother from another mother and my sisters from another mister, but you got to get your peoples to subscribe to this channel. All right, I love y'all. I'll see y'all in the next video.